Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Audio Advice live stream. This is the third live stream leading up to the awesome event that we're looking forward to. So today we're going to focus on some of the premier two-channel setups. They're going to be at Audio Advice Live 2024. So over the next hour, we're going to bring in some of our brand partners to talk about what they're bringing to the show and hopefully what you all will be listening to while you're there. So also, we're going to be giving away a pair of Peachtree M24X powered speakers to the best question or comment. So go ahead and get in your questions and comments in the comment section, and we're looking forward to that. So we are currently 22 days and probably roughly 16 hours from Audio Advice Live, and that's on August 2nd through the 4th. And in case you haven't heard of it, this is going to be our biggest show yet. We're going to have all kinds of experiences from home theater to two-channel to you name it, turntables, we got it all. So we have over 80 brands there, and we're also going to have our kickoff event, which is going to have some big announcements over at the Lincoln Theater, as well as a 12-piece Motown band. So without further ado, this is also our venue for the kickoff event, as well as the stage there. So without further ado, we're going to bring out our first guest, which is going to be Ken from Macintosh. Ken, how are you doing today?
Pretty darn good. I'm outside Seattle where it's not too hot today.
Well, lucky you. I'm down in about the hottest point of South Carolina. So it's currently, I think, 95 here and about probably 110% humidity. So it's it's warm here. But so Ken, tell us a bit about who you are. What do you do?
Well, I'm the global training manager for Macintosh. I'm kind of the new guy at Macintosh. I've only been with them since about 1972. So I had a store for many years in California, and I was involved with Macintosh in a variety of ways. And they convinced me a number of years ago to sell my store and create a training program. So I travel around the country and create videos and basically to educate salespeople so that they can have a greater knowledge of the product.
Gotcha. So are you the famous person behind McMaster's right now that everybody gets to go to?
Yeah, that's my baby.
Well, that's awesome.
Yep, they get there for 2 days and listen to me talk.
Oh yeah. Well, we've had a lot of people go out. I think we've actually done some videos of Binghamton as well. And everybody who goes there loves it. I haven't had a chance to go out myself yet, but soon enough. But well, the closest thing we're going to get is hearing what you got at Audio Advice Live. So tell us a bit about what you're bringing out.
So we're bringing out 2 systems. One is going to be the big guns from the company, our 2,000-watt amplifiers. And each amplifier is so powerful, you can't even put it in one chassis. So each channel consists of 3 separate chassis that we stack up. So it's 3 boxes per channel. Luckily, we're not doing a home theater. We're only doing stereo. So we're bringing out our 2,000-watt power amps, our speakers, the 2.1K speakers that handle 2,000 watts. They're line array speakers. So there's 6 woofers and 2 lower mid-ranges, and I believe it's 28 upper mid-ranges and 45 tweeters per speaker.
So is this the first time you guys have shown this off at an AV show, or was this
no,
one?
It's not the first time, but it's pretty rare that we bring these to a show. The overseas, they've been to quite a few shows. In the US, not too many. They're a beast to unpack, but they sound incredible. Line arrays are great because they can fill up a huge room, but you can also sit close to them and they don't sound overpowering.
Yeah, this is going to be in our lobby setup too. So it's it's a massive room. So we were looking for some things there. We talked to your team, and that was one that you were like, all right, this is probably going to be of all speakers one that's going to be able to touch this.
Exactly. And line arrays have a collimated sound source, so they don't spread sound high and low, so you don't get as much floor and ceiling reflections, which will be really good in this case. And then we're going to back that up with our new CD player. It was new last year. We actually introduced it at the show last year. It's a CD player with a tube output stage and our latest tube preamp. So that's going to be one system. That's going to be about a $300,000 value system. And then we're going to have something a little bit more tame. We're going to have a pair of Sonus Faber speakers. That's an Italian speaker company that's part of the same family as McIntosh. And that's going to be powered by a McIntosh tube preamp and a pair of our 3500 model amplifiers. The MC 3500 was the amp that powered Woodstock. And
is that the well, no, I'm thinking the Grateful Dead, the Budman amp.
Oh yeah, that was the 2300.
Yep.
So the 3500s were 350 watt tube mono amps, and they had piles of them at Woodstock. And some people said it was the best amp we ever made, so we've brought it back. And that'll be a lot of consumers will have never heard those before. They're just incredible. So awesome. They're going to be through a pair of beautiful Sonus Faber speakers. So that'll be a system valued at about $100,000. So our economy system.
Very good. Yeah. The economy. That's about chump change,
Yep.
No, that's gonna be awesome. We're super excited to have you guys, and it looks like you're gonna be up on up in the tower this year on an end room. So you're gonna have a setup up there. So we're super excited. And you came last year, correct?
Yes, and last year we had a setup where we had our new CD player, which has a tube output stage and a solid state output stage into two different inputs on an integrated amp. And I was switching back and forth, and everyone in the room was amazed, including myself, to be honest, at how big a difference the tube output section made. Mm-hmm. It sounded like the room got bigger, and there's no scientific explanation for that, but everyone could hear it. So maybe we'll be able to do some switching back and forth between tubes and solid state this year. That was something almost no one's ever heard before. Tubes versus solid state at the flip of the switch.
Well, that's really cool. There's always debate against it, and some people are, super scientific, and some things you just can't measure. But in some cases, that's a hot topic to go into. But
well, that's okay. We make both. So no matter which you prefer, we make it. And the CD player has two sets of outputs, so we don't have to take a stand.
There you go. Well, I think I know the answer to this question, but what are you guys most excited about bringing to the show this year or showing off to people?
I would have to say the 3500 power amplifiers, those amps that powered Woodstock, that is just an incredible amplifier. I mean, it peaks at about 500 a channel, so it'll power almost any speaker. But what's so amazing is, regardless of how sensitive or power hungry a particular speaker is, it sounds better at lower volumes through that amplifier. And again, we can't really give you a good explanation for why that's so. The crossover distortion's low, but it's low on all our amps. But for some reason on the 3500, you can play at very modest volumes and everything sounds clear and the sound opens up. Mm-hmm. And there's something about it. We don't know why, but it definitely is reality.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, that's what we get a lot of questions on people, from people saying, what advantage do you get from like a high powered amp if a speaker doesn't, quote, need it for a large room? And
for years I used to tell people, when they'd say, I have 200 watts, should I upgrade? And I would say, did the meters go up all the way? Did the power guard lights flash? And they'd say, no, I've never had the meters go up all the way. I'd say, more power isn't needed. Yep. It isn't needed, but for some reason, it almost always sounds better.
Yep.
Even when you've still got lots of reserves, having even more reserves seems to sound better. And that's what I found in my home system. I'm using a pair of Sonus Faber Electa Amateur 3 speakers. They have, a 7-inch woofer in them. And every time I put a bigger amp on them, they sound richer and fuller, even at moderate volumes. Yeah. It's just amazing. That's why we build big amps.
Yeah, one of the things I always like to tell people is which car is going to drive smoother at 80 miles an hour, one with 150 on the speedometer, or one that goes up to 90.
Right.
So, but awesome, Ken.
Exactly.
Well, again, we are just ecstatic about what you guys are bringing to the show. So we're really looking forward to it, and we'll see you here in just a couple weeks.
Me too. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. And so up next, we're bringing in, let me pull up my sheet, our good friend Clay from Rel Acoustics. Let's see. There we go. Hey, Clay, how are you doing?
Sorry, I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing well. So tell everybody who you are, a little bit about what you do.
So I'm Clay. I'm the regional manager for Rel Acoustics, basically out of the Southeast area. So all the fun green states like North Carolina and Tennessee and Atlanta. And I'm based in Dallas, Texas. So luckily I was able to avoid the hurricane that came through Houston a couple days ago, but it was just a small one. So, it's fine. But yeah, I get all the fun states. That's where I go.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. So yeah, you guys came to the show last year and made a big impact. And well, Rel's a relatively, no pun intended, new brand for us. So we've, I was a huge proponent. So I was like, I wanted you guys to come on because I love some of your subs especially for music and even for theater. They're absolutely phenomenal. So you guys came last year. I think that was your first time attending. Was last year?
That was our first time attending. Yeah, and it was a whirlwind of everything. It's probably one of the funnest shows I've seen, and I've heard that from everybody, all my friends in the industry. All the people on this call, as well as just people that didn't even get to attend. God, you had people coming from Canada, from California, everywhere.
Yep.
It was crazy. So it's great to be a part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, we one thing that makes us, I think, unique compared to a lot of other shows is we just have a big focus on consumers. So pretty much anybody who's going to be on this call, I highly recommend coming just because it's focused towards enthusiasts. So it's a time to come out and play and listen to setups. I mean, with 80 brands and I don't even know, 40 plus rooms. There's something for everybody. 3 days of fun for sure. But what are you guys bringing this year?
So this year I'm kind of we're going to do a little change up from what we did last year. Last year we had too many repeat customers coming back in wanting to hear it more and more. So what we're going to do is what we're famously for, the line array of Rels. So we'll have 6 next to some phenomenal bookshelf speakers that we're really going to show off and make sure that people understand that those are some of my absolute favorite speakers. And then couple that with the line array in order to really show off what that's capable of doing, especially in, a small environment like a 13 by 18 foot room. And then kind of really repeating the last thing we did last year was allowing people to listen to music that they want to, play some tracks, listen to some stuff. I think it's really amazing for a lot of people to enjoy the set of speakers that are there with, we're using Hagel amplifiers and KEF speakers, and to come in and show them how great those products work together and how we all really just congeal and come in. So deconstructing the line array is something that's really, really interesting for a lot of people, because you've got these, just under $18,000 worth of Rels sitting there and about, 3,000 watts of power. And when you have that much surface area and that much power and attention, you really get the ability to really control the room, and kind of like what Ken was talking about, this ability to truly control how bass operates in that room and recreate that live venue and go through and then take it apart and see that deconstruction and hear that deconstruction. And then we'll have some other stuff that's kind of coming in. We'll have some of the new classic 98s that are going to be in there. So that's kind of our throwback to the retro. And we'll probably do some, take those out and then put this guy in and let you hear what just that little guy does. So we got 2 models, one at $1,400 and one just under $2,000 to kind of just flex in. So some of the prettier stuff you can do, it tends to pass a lot of those interior designer factors, when it's like, put it over here next to the window, next to the wood furniture. Yeah, it looks great. So it's fun to just literally turn it up and have fun and really control that. So yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, I'm really excited you guys are bringing the classic. I personally haven't got to see it in person yet, and I think that we're seeing, which we have been for a while, seeing a big shift over into sort of the retro looking speakers. And they're hard to combine a subwoofer with if it's like a gloss black sub and you have, a set of like L100s, or you have a set of like, Klipsch Fortes or something along those lines. It's hard to blend those, but that's cool. So we had a few questions on here about REL. So
Sure.
what is the best bang for your buck REL subwoofer or REL subwoofer as an entry sub? Sorry.
I think it's somewhat of a loaded question, but I would say probably one of our most popular, just based off of volume that they go through, is probably in the TX series. So anywhere from like the T9 to the T7, including our Italian red version that we kind of put out a few months ago. That's been really hot. I think we're kind of low on stock right now. But that's usually a good model for a lot of people to start in with. And what I really just kind of encourage people is get into a place like Audio Advice and go in there and talk to the guys like Connor and Jay and John, and just listen to it, kind of figure out what that is. You may find that the right REL for you is under $500, and you may find that the right REL for you is 6 of them, so but yeah, TX series is a great way to go. I think Classic is definitely you really can't go wrong with those. They work really well.
Gotcha. Yeah. There was another question. All right, so this one is pretty standard whenever we go towards subwoofer discussion. So can you just quickly kind of describe the difference between ported and a non-ported or sealed sub?
Sure. What make it for REL, we do exclusively sealed subs, but what we do is a little different than I would say others approach on it. Using our sealed cabinet, if we have a down firing model like the S510s that we're bringing or the TX series, rather than having a ported, which is really just going to give you more volume output, it's going to give you a much bigger size, bigger scale, more decibels, if you will, and going through that. What REL is kind of trying to go through is blend in with the main speakers. And if we're overpowering the speaker, we can't really seamlessly blend. So it has its own functionality for what we're doing in trying to be, I would say, faster is probably the biggest key for what REL is really trying to do. Very, very lightweight drivers that, like the S510 that I'm bringing will probably weigh somewhere around 15 grams for the actual driver. So as when you look at another guy's subwoofer, they're not 15 grams, but it's a different thing going there. But ported and sealed is my preference, but I've heard a lot of the guys out there with some big stuff that are fun.
Yeah, well, that's awesome.
The Ascendo subwoofer, you should. It's big. Yeah.
So I think I'm going to give you the same question that I gave Ken. What are you most excited to bring to the show, or most excited to show off?
Honestly, I think showing off is actually showing people of the amount of people that come through there is incredible. I probably saw 500, 600 people in my room alone last year. And I think my fun part of it is that with guys like you, I get to kind of help occasionally. So I get to stay the day after and actually go dial in a 6-pack with one of y'all's team members at the customer's house, who's just got probably a year in the making. But I think showing off what that system does and really connecting the person with their own system. And I think being able to connect them with you guys and really make it personal rather than just something that's there. So, the people attending, that's what it is. It's you guys, it's the people coming through the room. I probably got like 20 new demo songs that I took from customers that just wanted to hear stuff. I was like, this is crazy good. So yeah.
That's one thing I do love about the show is I come away with like a playlist that's like 20 songs longer. But I sometimes I will admit my pride makes me Shazam it, so I don't have to ask somebody. So if you see me at the show with my phone out, there's a 90% chance I'm Shazamming something.
My Apple Watch all the time.
What song is this?
Yeah.
But we got a cool comment here. So I booked tickets to Disney World, but I feel I would have had a better time at Audio Advice Live 24 event. My wife, however, we actually tried to coin the term "the most magical place on earth." No, I'm kidding. but yeah, you're missing out, Jesse. But hopefully you get to come next year, or you could just dip out of Disney World either.
Well, hey, there's 3 audio advice locations now, so you're growing. Yeah. You're going to take them out. Yep.
Yeah, we are growing. Yeah, we just opened up our Wilmington store, so we're really excited to kind of get that one up off the ground and get it fully, up to. We'll add some new toys. I'll leave it at that. But awesome. Well, Clay, it's been an absolute pleasure. I look forward to seeing you at the show.
Beautiful. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. So up next, we're going to bring in one of our good friends, Ben from KEF. Hey, Ben, how you doing?
I'm not too bad, Nick. Yourself?
Doing well, doing well. And so Ben, tell us a little bit about you. I would say it's probably easier to tell what you don't do at KEF, but go ahead. What do you do?
So my main focus is very similar to Ken, speaking earlier. So a lot of training, and I'm actually sat here in our KEF Music Lounge in New Jersey, where we carry out a lot of the training / my second home. Yeah, and I do a little bit of product management work as well. So a lot of work on the subwoofers, on the CI side. Sticking my oar in where it's not necessarily wanted. And my other role is apparently just to keep growing more facial hair in between talking to you guys. So that's very much it in a nutshell. Yeah, it's very much just getting out there, bringing people in, and talking the good talk about KEF.
Well, yeah. On our team over here, you just talked about growing facial hair. Somebody literally in our private chat, they're like, "Whoa, Ben's beard is grown." I swear to God, it's over here on the side. It's so funny. But yeah, Ben. So tell us, what you guys are bringing to the show.
Yeah, so year number 3 for us, 3 out of 3. So we are bringing. So we're doing a Q series theatre, which I think is going to be fantastic with our new Cube 15 subwoofers, which I'm really looking forward to, particularly myself. Absolute beasts of subs, but integrates beautifully. And it's not the most expensive home theatre system that will be there, but a lot of impact, a lot of value. We're also running some LSX2s with one of the Epson short throw projectors, which I think is going to be great, kind of showing to especially people that want to rent, etc. Might not be able to put like a fixed screen, move house, going with a ultra short throw that they can kind of take around, but also have a great audio system with it. And the other one we're bringing blades back.
Crowd favorite.
We're not going to be in the foyer this time, as we have been for the last 2 years. I think every single person that's walked into Audio Advice Live has walked past, listened to the blades, and probably spoke to David Kroll for many, 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 many minutes. So we're actually going to be in I think one of the Hanover rooms this year, and powered by Hagel H30As, I should say, with the P30. We're also adding, I don't know if we're doing 4 or 6 of our KC92 subwoofers with that system. 2 will be great, 6 will be even better. Wonderful subwoofer that we launched back in February, doing really, really well for us. So I have to echo Clay in regards to sealed subs. These are sealed, just wonderfully articulate, really easy to integrate. Very, very pleased with how they're doing. And yeah, that's pretty much what we're bringing, I believe.
Awesome. Well, yeah, the Q series last year was a really standout system. And this is one of the things I always like to focus on is we have a nice mix of, I think, entry level versus just ridiculously, the front stage is $100,000 in some cases. But for the Q series, I was speaking to Gene over Audioholics, and one of his favorite setups last year was the Q series theater. And, it was, the next room over is, $250,000.
Yeah, look, everybody deserves great sound at the end of it, right? We've all got different bank balances, and whilst it's nice to kind of see, these really great big expensive systems, because I love going in and seeing these great big expensive systems. It's also just important to show, look, this is what you can also achieve without having to remortgage your house 17 times, etc. So we just wanted to kind of show, look, this isn't just about top end. This is a show for everybody. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that this year, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, awesome. We had a few comments and questions pop up here. So we got one from Sam here, though, saying, "Do you think the active loudspeakers are the future of hi-fi?"
So this was actually a question asked in the speaker panel last year that I was part of. My answer then is the same as my answer now. It's not the future; it's here.
Yeah.
Right. High performance active loudspeakers. They are one of the biggest growing categories in this industry for a reason. People want easier ways to access audio, but they want great performance as well. So anybody sleeping on active is, let's say, they're sleeping, right?
Yeah. No, I kind of feel the same way. The way I tell a lot of people is kind of use like a golf club scenario. Are you going to build your own set, or are you going to buy a pre-made set? Some pre-made sets can be absolutely fantastic. Doesn't mean they're bad. Some people prefer the customization of, doing one piece at a time. So
100%. And we're going to keep doing passive products. I mean, our bread and butter is still passive. We put a lot of engineering into the acoustic side of things, and then we build the active on top of that. So there's always an acoustical benchmark that we start from, or a foundation that we start from, and then we start looking, okay, how could we integrate the active side into what we've done here? And the LS50 to the LS50 wireless is the perfect example of that.
Yeah, the LS50 are a classic for sure. That's one that I want to add to my desk. I just don't have enough room at this point, and I've got too many speakers in the house as is. So I don't know if I have any more any more room for them.
Is there any such thing as too many speakers?
Well, not for me. For the other person living in the house, yes. But we got another question on here. So I particularly love the KEF finishes, and so I want to get what your take is on this. What's your tip for cleaning a gloss finish on your sub? Well, this is on your subs, so it probably would have been better before, but we'll use it for KEF speakers as well. Any gloss finish speaker.
Light microfiber cloth, maybe a little bit of glass polisher kind of thing. Just nice and simple. Nothing abrasive.
So no Windex and sandpaper?
Well, depending on what grit of sandpaper you're talking about.
Two grit. No kidding, guys. Well, Ben. So same question for you. What do you think you're most excited about showing off at the show this year? So,
from a personal perspective, it's the Cube 15s. The Cube 15s are one of the very first products that I helped bring to market for KEF. So they're very near and dear to my heart. But I think what people are going to be extremely impressed and surprised by is how articulate these 15s are. You get the depth, you get the extension, but you also get all that nuance and detail, which not just helps when the sub's doing something just by itself, but also helps when, especially in the crossover region where you've got both the subs and the main speakers playing the same thing, they're going to keep up with, they're going to take what you loved about the speaker system beforehand and just bring that performance quality into those depths of frequency.
Well, awesome. Well, we're looking forward to. We got one more question on here that I got to put in just another beard joke. No, just kidding. So, any tips for increasing in-room SPL enough to blow your beard back levels of SPL?
So, the easy one, more subs. That's the easy one, right? But okay, that's the easy answer, but not necessarily easy in practice, because you've got to think about boundary gain, you've got to think about room gain. But yeah, more subs, but you're gonna have to play. You're really gonna have to dig in terms of placement, in terms of which is exactly why we include room EQ switches on our subs. So, which is basically boundary gain compensation. So, you can build them up, but if they do start to get a little bit boomy, just tame them down a little bit, in particular frequency range.
Yeah, that's, I selfishly, I'm a home theater designer. Typically, I'm a huge 2-channel nerd, but for home theater, we are trying to maximize SPL. So I'm pretty much always corner loading subs, and then taming them from there is kind of my general perspective. But and just having more power in a system, bigger woofers. I don't expect a small speaker to fill up a 30-foot by 40-foot room. Make sure they're adequately sized to your room and give them enough power to breathe. So, but awesome. Well, Ben, again, always a pleasure, and we look forward to seeing you here in a couple weeks.
All right, looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing
thanks.
those folks in the comments, in the chat, and also fellow industry folk on the live stream.
Absolutely. Well, up next we are bringing in Chris from Golden Ear. Hey, Chris, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well.
Awesome. So, tell us a bit about who you are, what you do.
So my official title is Eastern Regional for Golden Ear. We're a relatively small company, so it kind of falls into the category of many hats, which is a lot of fun. But my official title and what I do the most is Eastern Regional Sales Manager, basically everything east of the Mississippi, Florida to Maine. So a nice, small, concise territory to deal with.
Awesome. Yeah. So let's see here. Tell us a bit about what you're bringing to the show this year.
So this year is going to be exciting. Our third year with Audio Advice Live as well. Trying to stay consistent. So we're in the same 2 rooms that we've been in all 3 years. We'll be in 14-17 and 14-19 as well. We'll be bringing production models of T66 this year. Last year, we still had prototypes. We didn't quite have them done, and they weren't quite ready yet. So this year we'll have them in black, and we'll actually have production models of the Santa Barbara Red. We're going to change the system up a little bit this year. You guys just started carrying Hagel. In the last 2 years, we used Mark Levinson for the front end. And this year, we're going to use a Hagel H390 at 250 watts per channel, which is a dual mono design. And we're going to use the, I got to cheat and look at my notes, Viking CD player. That's the one I was skipping out on. So that'll be a little bit different, a little bit more affordable. We're going to be using a AudioQuest PQ707 for power. The system without wire or the rack is going to come in at just under 20. We'll be using a Pangea rack as well. All the cabling and everything will be AudioQuest. If you include the Pangea rack and all of the cabling and speaker wire, we'll come in at just under 25 for the full system, completely strung up. And really, really looking forward to playing with the new Hagel gear. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Have you guys used Hagel before in any of these setups?
It shows no. I've worked with it out and about in travels, but we've not been able to use it in shows. We've used a lot of different equipment that I've been able to play with, but this will be the first time using Hagel in one of the shows like this.
Yeah, a huge shout out to Hagel. I think they're putting amps in quite a few rooms, and I haven't had much experience with them. I mean, of course, I know the name Hagel, and I've read about them for a long time, and I just haven't had them at the show. And they're making a big.
You'll enjoy it. It's really nice sounding gear. It really is.
Mm-hmm. So let's see. So tell us a bit about Golden Ear, as a company, about what products you guys create and what kind of makes them stand out.
So we're a relatively new brand in the industry, if you will. We've only been around for a little over 10 years. Not a lot of SKUs, if you will. I think we're at 32 or 33 total SKUs, but we cover all of the bases. And one of our biggest goals, if you will, is to provide value in a go-to-market design. The T66, for example, not an inexpensive speaker. We come in at $6,900 a pair in black. The Santa Barbara Red is just a slight premium at $7,200. But one of the things that we really try to do is in our price points, for lack of a better term, knock people's socks off and shock them at the level of performance they're getting at even that price point, which isn't cheap. But given what you would have to spend in a lot of cases to outperform is one of our goals. And one of the funnest things that shows especially being a newer brand, is you get guys that come in that haven't heard Golden Ear, that aren't familiar with Golden Ear, and you tell them a little bit about it. You explain that we're relatively new, this, that, or the other, and you sit down and you play something. And the amount of times, like at your show and other shows, that we get, wows, I can't believe it. It sounds this good, for such a small footprint, a small baffle on the front. And then the guys that are Golden Ear fans, if you will, that have followed us pretty much since day one with the T66, we've got old school Golden Ear guys that have been through the rampant of speakers from day one that come in and sit down with the T66. And generally the comments are, wow, that's the best sounding speaker you guys have ever put out.
Yeah. I think we have some pictures of the T66 as well. Let's see. We do. We've got.
Yeah. That's the black on the right and obviously the red on the left. And, it's funny, the photos, that red, the photos really don't do it justice. It's really deep. It's a very rich, subtle red. It slips into a room very modestly, if you will. And it shows. And we had it a couple times last year at Audio Advice Live where guys were listening. And, I make the comment, that the black speaker on the left is 6,900. And we also offer it in Santa Barbara red here on the right. It's 7,200 for the pair. And 8 times out of 10, there's 1 or 2 people that are listening that stand up and look over to get a side view because they can't tell that it's red until they get a little bit more in view.
Yeah. Well, tell us a bit about what's on the sides here.
So I'll call it a bit of a hybrid design, if you will. We power the bottom end. It's not a fully powered speaker. The satellite section, there's 2 mid-range drivers, and the tweeter on the top are completely passive. So on the bottom, those bottom 2 drivers on the front are active woofers. It's a sealed enclosure, and the drivers that you're seeing on the left and the right there are mass-loaded passive drivers. So it is a full-range, dynamic, acoustically matched loudspeaker. We just choose to power the bottom end. So you can run them with a relatively modest piece of equipment, a modest receiver or integrated amp. But if you choose to do better electronics, say Hagel, say Mark Levinson, whatever it might be, we do respond quite nicely to better electronics.
Awesome. Let's see. We got some other questions here. Does Golden Ear operate as an independent entity in terms of R&D from its parent company, AudioQuest?
Sort of. So apparently a Golden Ear fan. We still have the same engineering facility in Canada. It's outside of Ottawa and Ornprior. So the core engineers, the core designers that have been a part of it since day one are still there and are still involved. One of the biggest changes since getting involved with AudioQuest is Garth Powell on the engineering side and Bill Lowe have gotten a little bit more involved in some of the design characteristics and especially on the engineering side with Garth. And it's, honestly, it's been fun having, for lack of a better term, some fresh eyes, looking at things, maybe not differently, but just from a different perspective and, providing input and trying to make things better. And since the acquisition, one of the things that I've been most pleased with is, we're not trying to figure out how to sell things for less. We're trying to figure out how to pick up where we were, make things better, grow it and build it rather than, we all know how sometimes things go when companies are acquired and things change hands. And it hasn't been that at all. It's been a lot of fun. And like I said, the T66 are probably the best sounding speaker that we've ever put out. And it's the first speaker that we brought out under the new regime that Sandy actually, he loves them, but the T66, he really didn't have much input on this particular model.
Yeah, well, I think the speakers look great. You guys have changed up the grills a little bit. And are the grills removable on these new models?
No.
No.
And that's not us just trying to be difficult. I know it seems that way sometimes. That's actually for UL listing. You can thank the government for that. And that's primarily due to the fact that we power the woofers. And there's different tests that you have to do to pass for UL. And in order to pass UL, we have to have a non-removable grill.
Interesting. All right. That answers a lot of questions then, because I like to see the drivers regardless of the speaker. And
everybody does. And 11 o'clock at night after a glass of lemonade, and you're listening to music, everybody wants to get up and pull the grill off the front, myself included. So our stopgap for that, since you can't actually remove the grill, is on the T66, we removed the cloth and we just have that open metal mesh grill. So you can still see a little bit behind the curtain, if you will. You just can't actually pop it off. And they are removable. It's just not easy to remove them. And I'll qualify that if you do remove the grills, they're easier to get off than they are to get back on.
Well, yeah, I think that's something to be said about a few different parts of hi-fi. You know, you can claw anything off, getting it back on can be the challenge. But another question here: does Golden Ear have dealers in Alaska at all?
I don't think so.
Well, there's good news. Audio Advice does ship to Alaska. So
there you go.
Yeah, we've done setups in Alaska. We've done in Hawaii. So we absolutely can ship.
And actually, for the gentleman that asked that question, if he's in Alaska, which I'm guessing he is, if he knows of any reasonable, good hi-fi shops up there, we'd certainly be willing to reach out and have a conversation if there's some interest.
Yeah, absolutely. So awesome. Well, I think I'm going to give you the same question as everybody else. So, what are you most excited to bring to the show and show off?
Well, part of it I already answered. So the biggest thing I'm excited for is to have production models of T66 there this year instead of the prototypes that we had last year. And then the other part of that answer goes back to, with being a newer company and the amount of people that go through the rooms that haven't heard of Golden Ear, that I get to talk to them for the first time and expose them to Golden Ear and what we do for the first time, and just seeing the reactions of people, especially that haven't heard us before. And the powered bottom end, for people that don't know us, really throws some people for a loop. And when we sit down and play something, then they realize that it's not just a bassy speaker. It's a full range, dynamic, acoustically matched loudspeaker that will play anything you throw at it. And just watching people's faces sometimes is just makes it all worthwhile.
That's awesome. Yeah, I will say, I've only been in the industry for about 6 years, and this side of it, I was in vintage audio before. And the Triton ones, I think, were one of the first hi-fi speakers I got to sit in front of, and absolutely was blown away by it. I was like, this is the craziest.
The one and the 1.R both were phenomenal.
Yep.
They really are.
But awesome, Chris. Well, I'm excited to have you guys again this year, and look forward to seeing you at the show.
Yep, you too. Thanks everybody for the time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And next up, we've got another Nick with SVS. Hey Nick, how you doing?
Name, how you doing?
I know. I think that you're the reason originally that we had to put the name next to it or a last initial. But how are you doing today?
Doing wonderful. Thank you for having us on here and putting the show together. I know it's become one of the premier audio events in the country, and we couldn't be more excited.
We're super excited to have you guys there again. You guys always come through in a really big way. So tell everybody a bit about what you do and who you are.
Sure. I'm the VP of Marketing for SVS. So some people may have seen our audiophile happy hours. I host that, but I wear a lot of other hats as well, running the marketing department here. We do quite a few live events. One that I think is going to be coming up later in the summer, early fall at one of the Audio Advice stores, I believe at Charlotte. So keep me on the road quite a bit, but I love managing our social feeds as well, and just being a visible part of what SVS is trying to do.
Well, awesome. Yeah, well, we've been really impressed with some of the new stuff that you guys have been putting out. I've had a personal chance to hear a few of them and have loved it. So tell everybody what you're bringing to the show this year.
Yeah, well, I know this is primarily focused on 2 channels, so I'll start there. We are going to have a 2-channel room with no subwoofers, which may be a bit of a departure from what people would expect from SVS, but we'll be bringing our brand new flagship Ultra Evolution Pinnacle tower speakers in a 2-channel array. And I've heard this name brought up a lot before, but shockingly, we're going to have a Hagel on the front end, powering that. I mean, I've heard nothing but good things. It's the first time we've used it, but we're very excited to bring the Hagel out there. And I think one of the things we're trying to do is, as we've done some of the other 2-channel shows, is bring a more upscale front end, because I think these speakers certainly benefit from it. They'll play great with more entry-level amplifiers and integrateds, but it really will show what they can truly do. With the acoustically centered time alignment and the diamond coated tweeter and the force balance woofer array. There's a lot of technology stories we'll be talking about at the show, but we wanted to bring some nice front end for that 2-channel system.
Yeah, and I've got some pictures here in case everybody hasn't seen the new lineup. So and I know that you guys are also bringing, you said, on the theater side. So what are you showing off on the theater portion?
Yeah, so before I jump into that, we're also going to be having the Ultra Evolution Titans, which were those white speakers you just
Yep.
showed. They're one step down from the Ultra Evolution Pinnacles. They have slightly smaller driver, slightly smaller cabinet, but the same exact form factor, all the same technology stories. We'll be running those actually in the Ever Solo and the Stark Audio room. So you'll be able to hear the Ultra Evolution with two different kinds of amplification, which, I think you get some of the nuance from having those different components running the speakers, which I'm really excited about, to kind of hear the differences between those two setups. But back to your original question with the home theater, we're going to be running the Titans in there as well in a multi-channel system. It's a 5.2.2. So we'll have those in the front, left, and right. Obviously, our new Evolution center channel, a true three-way center. We'll have a pair of the Ultra Evolution bookshelf speakers in the rear, and then our Ultra Elevation height effect speakers, bringing in that 0.2 for some of those immersive Dolby Atmos surround sound effects. And then one of our most popular subwoofers, a pair of the SB3000s, sealed cabinet, which I know we have a lot of advocates for sealed cabinet subs here. We'll be running those to produce the low end for our home theater room.
Very cool. Yeah, that's I think that a lot of people like to look at a kind of a divide between two channel and theater, but they're very hand in hand. If you have a good system that does really well in theater, there's a chance that it's going to do pretty well in two channel as well. Which, I mean, any of your speakers can be used in that kind of variation at two channel or in a theater type setup.
I think that's a really great point, Nick. And one of the things we really try to emphasize in the voicing of our speakers is to have sort of the benefits of both. I think people who are big, cinema, home theater fans, they look for the dynamics, they look for the low frequency extension, that energy, the excitement that can really captivate you when you're watching home theater. But then, when you're talking about two channel and hi-fi, it's a lot more about the refinement, clarity, transparency, neutrality, some of the things that really get out of the way and let the music speak for itself. So we really tried to accomplish that with this new series in terms of making a speaker that can really, show the best sides of every kind of content, no matter what you're really into.
Yeah. And like I said before, I had a chance to listen to part of your lineup at Axpona, and that was one that, especially it's hard to gauge how things sound in a hotel room. But for price to performance, I mean, they punch above their weight class. Wherever they're listening to, $100,000 setup, and then we jump over, listen to something that's a fifth of the price. It sounds fantastic. But awesome. Well, what do you think you're most excited to show off at the show this year?
Well, I mean, it's got to be the new Ultra Evolution speakers. I don't think, they haven't had as much exposure, I think, as a lot of the other models that people will hear at the show. They've only been around for about 2 months or so now. So, across the board, the fact that we're able to show off, I guess it's 7 different models in between the 2 rooms, it's really going to give people a sense for the complete lineup. And the fact that we're going to have different components running them will give you a sense for sort of how they react to having those different AV receivers and integrated amplifiers playing them on the front end. So I just think the diversity of content that we're going to have, as well as the multiple systems. I myself am actually excited because I haven't heard them paired with Hagel or Ever Solo. So to me, this will be a completely different experience from what I've even heard at shows that we've already done, Munich and some of the others. So that's got me pretty excited.
And so let's jump through a few questions that we have on here as well. So
no hard ones. Come on, Nick.
All right, I'm going to give you the hardest question. So describe how a speaker works starting from the. No, I'm kidding. So let's see. Is there an integrated amplifier that you recommend for the Evolution bookshelves?
Let's see. So what we've typically used is we've been using some Emotiva gear at some of our previous shows, which sounds pretty darn good. The bookshelves actually work really well with and I have to plug one of our own units, the Prime Wireless Pro Soundbase. It's a 300 watt 2-channel amp that, it's got Wi-Fi, it's got AirPlay 2, Chromecast, it's got HDMI if you wanted to connect it directly to the TV, 24-bit 192 DAC. So, I mean, that's a great sort of solution if you want to have sort of all the different streaming connectivity and be able to kind of listen to any kind of content you want, or even connect it directly to a TV. So, I mean, I would say that's a great point if you wanted to stay within the SVS family. but really the way that they're designed is to sound great with any kind of amplifier. So I don't like to play favorites, but we certainly have heard Peachtree and a lot of other models as well, and I've never had a bad experience from experiencing any of those. So but being an SVS marketing guy, I have to throw a bone to our Prime Wireless Pro sound base.
Is there amount of power that I know they operate great on any power, and we're about to prove that? Have you found kind of a sweet spot in terms of wattage that you say, all right, if you got, you're going to customize this entirely, what wattage would you be looking for?
Yeah, I mean, for the bookshelves, anything from even like 50, 60 watts up is going to be fine for you. And certainly they'll benefit from having more power. I think when you get to the pinnacle, the very, the largest flagship tower, you're going to want to throw them, at least 100 watts, but they'll take 80 and still sound great in a smaller room. So it's really about scale and what volumes you like to listen to, how large your space is. I think our team can always, and I know the Audio Advice team can make recommendations based on some of those variables that people have with their rooms and their listening preferences to get you the best option possible.
For sure. Well, awesome. Well, we'll get a few other comments. My parents have a pretty fancy SVS setup. Always felt a bit spoiled playing video games with it in school. You got cool
George,
parents.
you got some good role models there. So consider yourself lucky. My parents had one of those like all-in-one sort of tape deck record player on the top, and that's what got me started into hi-fi. So the fact that they've already introduced you to SVS, kudos to them.
Yeah, my family growing up had a set of Polk towers that had a blown sub on it for years, and no one realized it. They're like, that one doesn't produce as much bass as that one, and I can't figure out why.
Yeah. Well, my college roommate fell victim, I guess you could just say, one of those white vans that brought like the big PA speakers.
Yep.
And so that was my college listening system, and I feel good about graduating from there. But I think a lot of people had their entry point into the world of high performance audio from those white vans. So again, George, consider yourself lucky.
For sure. So we got another one here. Has Larry found anything to replace his love for that scene in TMNT? So for those of you who don't know, kind of explain the story behind this one.
So Larry is our national training manager. He goes around doing demos of our systems and educating a lot of our partners on what SVS is all about. And one of his favorite demos as far as dynamics and low frequency extension and just big bass moments has been Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the one with Megan Fox in it. And there's this scene where there's this big 18-wheeler sliding down a snowy mountain, and there's this bass drop that I think extends down to about 18 hertz or so. And he really loves to play that beyond reference volume when we're in a hotel room or when we're at these shows to kind of, give people the sense of that tactile sort of visceral response that our subs are able to create. And so he's got sort of a cult following with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But to answer the question, he's now put Godzilla versus Kong, where they're fighting between the two battleships, on almost an equal footing as that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And I'm hoping Dune 2 has a couple scenes in it too that may end up making the ranks as well. But still, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles will always have a soft spot, I know, in his heart. And if he will be there this year, and I imagine it will be played at least a couple times in our room, hopefully towards the end of the day, so we can be good neighbors.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was so funny because I've never expected Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to be a demo, and we walked in. I was like, I don't think I've ever seen this movie, but hey, if it's a good demo, it's a good demo.
He's a glutton for punishment, and I know certain types of bass heads just want that complete overkill. Like, let me see what you can really do, tractor pull kind of experience. And I think that delivers it in spades, more so than any others. Even like Top Gun, it has a little bit more refinement to it. This is just bombastic and sort of out of the realm of what most home theater enthusiasts would even enjoy.
Well, before we let you go too, what is your favorite demo track personally for music? If somebody's going to show it off, since this is a 2-channel stream.
So I discovered, and I will not be able to remember her name unless I pull up my Qobuz. There's this track where it's a woman singing in Italian, and it's got this sort of melodic electronic background, and then it brings in another instrumental from an instrument. It's not a an ubu. It's an ubu. It's sort of like an Asian sounding like flute instrument. So it's got all these textures and layers to it, and I can't remember exactly what it is. So I'm going to mention another track that we were introduced to, and it's the see, you put me on the spot here, and I'm totally drawing a blank. It's Jeff. Oh, he's got the lowest voice of anyone I've ever heard in my life.
Oh yeah,
and he sings 16 tons. 16
Yeah,
tons.
16
And so,
tons. Yeah.
Again, I think that shows off just sort of the guttural nature and the natural tonality of a voice and how deep it can go. And I've really enjoyed playing that for people. And then moving from that to the other track with this Italian vocalist who's singing at like the highest frequencies to kind of show the full range nature of the speakers and how they sound in 2-channel. But I promise I'll remember them. If you come visit our room at Audio Advice, we'll go from lows to highs and mix in some electronic and some other music as well, because we love to take requests. I think somebody else who was on before me had mentioned that. I build playlists after all of these shows from the cool music that people suggest to us. And I will say, we were at the another show, I won't mention it, out in Costa Mesa a month or so ago. And there was a guy who came in and his 2 requests were Hotel California and Diana Krall. Like, so that still exists, and we will play it begrudgingly if you ask us to, but we try to stray away from sort of the stereotypical demos and really bring a lot of diversity into the kind of content we're playing.
See, that's funny. So I don't know if you've ever seen Wayne's World, where they're in the music shop and there's a sign that says "No Stairway to Heaven." So I actually had a sign made for my listening room that says "No Hotel California" above my system. So everybody walks in, they're like, "What does that mean?" So that's exactly what it is.
I can respect it as a reference track. You've heard it so many times. It does have nice layers. There's a lot going on, but you can only listen to it so many times. So I will respectfully play it, but we will not do it unless begged.
Awesome. Well, Nick, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you at the show.
I look forward to seeing you too. We'll also be doing one of our happy hours live Thursday night from the show as well, doing some giveaways from our rooms. So I just wanted to throw that teaser out there as well for the social community. We always love having you guys, and maybe you can return the favor and appear on our broadcast and give a little teaser for some of the live concert and other stuff you have going on during the show when we do our live stream.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to it. All right, Nick. Well, we'll see you soon.
Thanks, Nick. Bye.
All right. And so that wraps up everybody that's on there. So now it's time for some giveaways. Before we do that, we also, in case you don't win, we have giveaways again next week where we're going to have an entire live stream on the vinyl revival and talking about all things vinyl, turntable, and analog playback. So in the meantime, we have 2 winners here. So we're supposed to have 1 winner, but there was a second one that popped up, so I got to give away 2 now. So the first one is going to be for Jesse Torres. Let me see if I can pull that up. And his was, I booked tickets to Disney World, but I feel I would have had a better time at Audio Advice Live 2024. So Jesse, reach out to us on our chat side or shoot us an email, and we'll get you set up with those. And the second one, just because your parents need something to add on to their SVS setup, they also need a set of Peachtree speakers. So George, reach out to us, and we will get you a set of Peachtree M24s. So awesome. Well, thanks so much, everybody, for joining, and have a great rest of your day.